Hi, good evening. Welcome to the 6th August edition of the Kennebunkport Planning Board meeting. We're at the Firehouse and also on the Zoom platform. There are 3 members in attendance tonight, which is great because that's what we needed for a quorum. Peter, Mike, myself, joined by Galen and Nadia, and our support audio team here, audio-visual team. Begin with the minutes. Did you have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep.
Peter?
Did, yes.
You good with them? Would you like to
Yeah,
offer?
I'm good with them. I think we ought to say that Joseph Moan was not absent, but is in fact no longer on the planning board.
Oh, I didn't catch that, yeah. I agree.
But beyond that, I'm
So
fine.
with that editorial change,
And I'm good.
in favor? All 3?
I,
Aye.
You made the motion in second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Thank you, Galen. So those are approved as amended to say that Joe Moan was not absent.
He was, but he had good cause.
Yeah.
higher power pulled. Okay.
There are 1, 2, 3 items on the agenda this evening. One that was on an earlier edition of the agenda has been withdrawn. So we'll begin with item number 250206, 103 Marshall Point Road.
Did I put reorganization as the first?
Yes, you did.
So we
I don't know what that means.
electing officers. So every year, have to elect a new slate of officers. I was hoping that 4 people, all 4 of you would be at this meeting, but, we can only put it off so long. So if, I guess if you want to wait one more meeting to see if George is here as well, we can put it off, but we would like to just make sure that we have a slate of officers for the year.
So I'd just as soon wait till we have
Yeah.
the 4 of us here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. No, I didn't understand that. So we have a chair at this point, and the vice chair has left to join the select board. So we need a vice chair is what you're looking for.
And you do need to officially elect the chair again as well.
The chair, vice chair, and the secretary. And usually you appoint, we have Lynn Capitan is doing that for us. But we should make the motion for all 3.
I thought we did that in January, no?
That was because we had the resignation of the chair. Usually it's an annual thing that's after the June meeting.
Ah.
We usually have that then.
So you raise an interesting point. We're delinquent in approving the rules
Yes.
for the planning board. Those went to the town attorney some months ago, and we're still waiting for them back.
Yep. I keep making reminders to her.
You do, okay.
Yep. I sent them back in March, actually. Yep.
I knew it was a while.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So the first item on the agenda is, first application on the agenda is item 250206 for 103 Marshall Point Road.
And I
Are we
believe
doing that
our,
via Zoom?
yes, our presenter should be joining via Zoom.
Okay.
Hello, is this working?
It is.
I hear you.
I am trying to figure out how to show my face, so I'm not just sort of.
In the webinar format, we just have your audio, not your video.
Okay, well,
Do you have
Thank you.
materials you need to present?
no, well, Nadia, I sent you some updated plan sets and details. Are those available to the board?
They are, and I'm happy, I can pull those up.
Okay, great. Great. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to present by Zoom. I understand that's not typical. And I apologize. I lost my voice somewhere, and I'm still working on finding it. So if I get all choked up, just it's me, not you. So I'm here to talk about a revetment reconstruction for 103 Marshall Point Road. And this plan came to the board a few months ago. And at that point, we were proposing a significant reconstruction that involved an expansion of the existing revetment, both in height and in square footage. At that point, the board denied that because we were not complying with the rules on no increase on aerial coverage. And so we took that back and had some back and forth with the state, and essentially did a full redesign. What we're now proposing is a replacement in kind, no increase to square footage, no increase to height. Before we did not have a permit in hand from the DEP, and now we have our permit by rule from the state in hand. So the existing revetment was heavily damaged by the 2024 January storms, and particularly along the top edge, there was a substantial amount of material that was pulled out off into the seaward side of the revetment. And so rather than come and rebuild the entire revetment, we're proposing just to address the damaged portion of it. So you'll see in the light blue here, it is approximately 1,290 square feet of direct impact for repair. And this is to excavate material, reset the stones. And then there's an additional 2,195 square feet of temporary construction impacts. And that's for as they're excavating to install the larger stones along the top. Let me change the way I put that. We're proposing to place quite large stones along the upper edge, and in order to avoid increasing the height, we need to set them down, inset them into the slope. And so they'll dig a trench, place the large stones, and then backfill, and then provide additional stones along the face of the revetment to maintain the existing slope up to those larger stones. And the primary reason we're doing that is that the stones along the top of the revetment were sort of plucked out of place and led to the damage that they received back in 2024. And so the landowner does not want those stones to move. Best way to avoid them moving is to make them large and to bed them well. So we are, Nadia, if you go down to sheet 4, there's a cross section of what I'm proposing. The sheet above that one. There you go. That cross section towards the bottom of the page shows what we're proposing. A large angular stone, about 2.5 feet deep and 4 feet high, and as wide as we can get them. And those will be set in the trench with facing stones to maintain the grade up to the top. Again, we are not proposing an increase in height or in square footage, and we based our or elevations on spot shots that were taken along the upper edge of the revetment. We took many shots on the revetment, on the slope, and tried to use we averaged these to try and recreate what was existing prior to the storm damage. And so we're gonna maintain the elevation. I think I'm starting to ramble a little bit, so I'll end my presentation there. And if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Could we, this is Ed speaking, can we just start by you introducing yourself?
Oh.
Is this Sam?
Yes. My name is Sam Hayden. I'm with Haley Ward, and I'm representing Bob Marisich, the owner of the property.
Understood. Yeah, you're on the
I don't
paperwork, I
typically-
just, like you say, without the face too, so we'll make this
Yeah.
work, we'll make this work. Okay. Can we just start down the end of the board? Peter, do you have questions?
I'm curious how much of the construction here is actually at or above, or below rather, high astronomical tide? And how that is taking place? I mean, you'll do it obviously at low tide, but are you covering it below the water line?
Yeah, so the work is taking place well above the highest astronomical tide. In this area, it's right around elevation 7, and you can see it at the toe of the slope in this plan. It's off of the revetment entirely. The elevation of the work we're doing is up at elevation 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're not going to be impacting below the hat line at all.
Excellent.
And within that, if the contractor looks ahead and sees a big storm coming, they're gonna button the site up as well as they can to avoid a storm coming and wiping out what they're halfway through fixing. But we're not anticipating having to work around the tides. All the work will be done from the landward side.
Okay, and the footprint on the water side is not increasing?
Correct. We're not moving the toe of the slope outwards at all.
Okay. And is the toe of the slope covered today with any growth or vegetation?
No, Nadia, I don't know if you have the photo log that you can pull up. The toe of the slope is fairly large, well-placed stones. It's sort of an old style of revetment where they're very smooth. They're placed together and locked in so that it forms a kind of a smooth ramp. But they're well bedded, and we decided that to pull them out and to sort of set them in a more modern revetment design that is angular and would try to dissipate the energy, would introduce more risk and cause more impact than we really needed to do. So there's essentially no vegetation down there. It's revetment down to the ledge. The seaward side of this is small amounts of sand and lots of exposed ledge.
And in terms of access to is the water sandy bottom, or is it rocky?
Rocky.
Okay, so there's not a lot of swimming going on. There's no access issues.
No, this would not be the place I would go and swim. This is not a beach,
Yeah.
a sandy beach. This is a rocky shoreline. There you go. That's a good picture
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
a good picture, yeah, I see it, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't body surf there.
I'm good.
How about you, Mike?
All right, yeah, I had a couple of things that I just wanted to confirm. I guess there was an outstanding item that the normal high tide line wasn't on the plans, but I think you just said that it's on this one, is that correct?
So I think the normal high water mark is still not on the plans, but since all of the work will be taking place above that, I think
We're
it's
good?
up to the board. I think that's a submission requirement you're welcome to waive. It just was, just wanted to highlight that for the board that wasn't there if you needed it for reference, but
Okay.
all of the work should be taking place above that normal high
Yeah,
water
that's
line.
clear.
Is it obvious, Sam, where the normal high water mark is?
If I were putting a normal high water mark, I would place it right along the toe of that slope if I was out in the field doing it. The normal high water mark, I think is just below elevation 7. But I don't have a really good answer to that question.
You're saying if you go there tomorrow at high tide, the water will come up to the base of that slope, roughly, on a calm day? Do I understand you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the permitting, I know you mentioned that you have the permit by rule in hand from DEP. Were there any other permits that were required for the work? Like,
I'm sorry for interrupting.
no, go ahead.
We're not anticipating any other permits for this work. There's no core jurisdiction. And so if we get the state, the okay from the state and from the town,
Good to go.
we're good to go. I believe the contractor will pull a building permit when it comes time for him to actually start moving material. But
Yeah,
this
I
is-
just wasn't sure because there were references in the note to, I thought, a couple other permits that were outstanding, but maybe they're not applicable. There was also a note that the plans needed to be stamped by a licensed engineer.
It's my understanding that well, I am embarrassed to say I have sent you over the unstamped set.
Okay,
We have a stamped set of these
at the office.
at my
Okay.
office, and we
We
can
get
get those to
them.
you.
If there, as long as it's there by the time we get to the final approval, I think we're good. And the other one was that we had that there was no increase in flood damage, and if you're keeping it right at the same height with the same slope, I don't see how there could be an increased impact in flood damage. So, versus the earlier designs. And then for waivers, I had a waiver that was proposed out for the board. I had several. High-intensity soil survey, parking and loading, storm water and sanitary system, landscaping, lighting, floor area, and signs. And then we just had another one about the high water line. Is that right? Were there any others that anybody had?
Yeah, I think that the high water mark is not shown on the plans, but it was provided verbally.
Yeah,
I think would be
all right.
I'd be okay with that.
All right, do we have to formally accept the waivers or make a motion for waivers, or how do you want to do that?
I just think the board needs to agree that all of those are
Yeah.
reasonable requests.
And I agree that they all are reasonable.
In favor?
I do have a question about the access point. Is that going off to the left of the driveway?
Correct.
And, 'cause
So they're gonna,
those are big stones you're gonna be bringing in. It's gonna be
Whopping big stuff.
that's gonna be a big piece of equipment, I suspect, or two.
yes, they're gonna build a temporary road with construction matting, is my understanding, that will go around the home, existing home to the north, which is the left side of the driveway. In talking with the landowner and the contractor, they don't anticipate, these are big stones, but it's not a big job. It's not going to be, they're not going to need 15 guys on this site. So they'll be able to, stay off of the street, parking in the existing driveways, and staging material around the back of the house. They won't be needing to block the street.
Good deal.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Those are all I had, Ed.
My overarching question is, I wanted to make sure that I have the right planning documents at this point. The last revision that I have, I think, is from the 12th of May. Is that right?
There is an updated plan set and cover letter from, that was put in the SharePoint on July 16th. Which is our
I
most,
think in general, I know I come up when I check my basket, there's no printed materials.
I don't believe we received printed updated materials.
Okay. I know it would make it a lot easier on this board member if materials were printed. So much gets put in the SharePoint. I spend a lot of time and money, for that matter, printing materials at home. To be constantly checking and all this is it's embarrassing to come here and say, oh, no, I haven't seen the latest materials.
We do, we do send out notifications when we put things into the shared drive.
No, I know that. I know that we've said this before. When anything gets put in the SharePoint drive, I'll get 10, 20 emails in a day saying something's in the email drive, something's on the SharePoint drive. It's not a practical solution for me. I'm just asking if something like a new plan set comes in, could a set be printed?
Yes, we will
Back in
ask
the day,
applicants to,
this would have had to come back through the post office. I know we're not doing that anymore, but obviously, small stuff, it doesn't matter, but a new plan set.
yep, we can ask for that in the
If you
future.
can figure out how we can do better,
I agree. I hunt and search when I go to the SharePoint site to make sure that I have the most current thing. It's not often obvious.
no, it's often not obvious, I'll say that. It's very, very difficult situation right now. Okay, so there is an updated plan set. You're saying that the latest update to the memo that the code office wrote to the planning board does reflect that latest plan, though?
Yes, and
Which is
staff
comforting.
has no issues with the plan. Obviously, we'd like to, see the stamped
'Cause
version would be good.
The last memorandum I have from the board, from the code office to the board is from the 19th of May. Is that outdated as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say from staff, there's actually one more outstanding issue. The flood hazard zone
Well,
hasn't been,
That's where I was gonna go.
yep, that still hasn't been updated to show the correct year.
Is
Well,
that a
the firm-
problem
It,
that needs to be resolved?
Again, I apologize here. The
The stamped copy would have that?
stamped copy has the flood hazard zone shown correctly.
okay,
Good stuff. Thank you.
So Sam, just for clarification purposes, the updated plan set that you're referencing, that means it's updated after the July 3rd, 24 revision?
Yes, it may still have July 3rd as the same date because we tend to kind of work on these things in bursts. But I have a plan set that is stamped and which shows the correct flood hazard zone as updated. I think it was earlier this year that they changed the flood hazard zone. So
Could you send us an updated digital file of that as well?
I'll send you an updated digital file. I'm happy to send it a paper copy as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just where you asked for it to be rolled.
Yes, we'll need 2 rolled copies of that final plan.
Is there a signature box on them? I don't see a signature box.
All right, and so we'll need a signature box and the stamp and the flood hazard update.
Okay.
So with that, can I, did we, back in May, did we ask for and have a case manager for this?
Joe Moon,
That dog.
he took all the revetment projects.
Anybody clamoring for this, or?
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a motion that this is a complete application?
I make a motion that we find this application for 103 Marshall Point Road complete.
I second the motion.
In favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. So there'll be a public hearing at the next meeting.
That will be 8:20, if everybody's here.
If there are 3.
If there are at least 3 people here, it should be August 20th.
Right.
Very good.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
One down.
We'll move on to the next item, 250601, application for 35 Pier Road.
Good evening.
Evening.
Chris Darling. I believe Bridget O'Brien is going to be on Zoom and had some information.
Is she there?
Bridget, you can speak. You have to unmute yourself, though. There you go.
Yes, thank you. I'm here. I'm the daughter of, I was at the last meeting. I'm the daughter of Pat and Jerry O'Brien, the owners of Pier Road, 35 Pier Road. I know last time I was here, we spoke about the extenuating circumstances and you granted the extension for us to proceed with building. And then we submitted additional information to Nadia to complete the dock application. So I believe that's where we're at, to see if our application is complete.
From what I see on the comment sections, there was 4 sections, 8, 9, 11, and 16B. 8 being the topography map, and I believe Bridget was, or submitted something to you, Nadia, on that one. On 9, it shows on the site plan that I submitted, it's just a gravel driveway, and we're not doing anything different with it. We're
Okay.
not touching it. 11 is about stormwater, sanitary waste systems, potable water supply. And it's just not applicable because it's a pier and we're not touching the buildings or having any electrical or plumbing on the pier.
I think the only concern would be, you're gonna be driving over your septic system or?
No.
is that- yeah, okay,
No, it's town water and town septic, and there is a pump that goes from
Yeah.
the small houses out, but that's out in the yard. So it's not in,
not applicable, yeah,
correct.
all right.
And then the other one was 16B about the engineering stamp. And
So we, so our ordinance is pretty explicit. We require a stamp from a registered professional engineer. So we're recommending the board add that as a condition, as you've done in the past for different projects when things are concerning the floodplain ordinance, and that's where that registered professional engineer language is located. Staff understands that the applicant has in the past been a registered professional engineer, and certainly if his firm decided to re-up that license, we could certainly discuss that, but as it stands, we need that stamp with the number, with the professional engineer license number.
You need that as a condition of granting the building permit, is that what I understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, is
So
it-
it just got coupled into the planning board review, but they're not gonna give you a building permit without it.
I don't know if Bridget wants to comment on where she's at with that particular item, because it's her father that was the engineer.
Oscar.
Bridget,
Am
are
I-
you
oh.
there?
Yeah, I didn't know if I was still muted. Yeah, I think I know at the last meeting I had said that he had a firm and we discussed, can your father sign off? And at that point, like I said, he's 88. I mean, he still has his business, but the actual stamp has expired. But he certainly has extensive experience. I mean, his business is in California, not in Maine. But I don't know whether there's any leeway there.
I think this is not a matter that the board has any purview over. You really need to work this with the code office. If they're requiring it for a permit, then as a courtesy, we certainly can add as a condition that this will be dealt with at
And
the
it's a
time
c-
of issuing a
Yeah,
building
yeah,
permit.
Yeah, it's approved, but it's a condition of them actually getting the building permit,
Yeah,
yeah.
Maddie, does this have to be a marine engineer? Or what is the specifications in some, I mean, this is obviously a high-velocity waterway and it caused the problem in the first place. Does that put any different requirements on that engineering stamp?
I believe our ordinance language just says registered professional engineer. I think we would, we would assume that it was someone who had the qualifications to be working on this. People would theoretically want to hire an engineer who had that expertise, but I don't believe that our language specifies a marine engineer. Galen, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
It just says certified professional engineer or architect.
Or architect?
Yep.
So it doesn't have to actually have an engineer stamp, just an architect?
Yeah, but they're putting their stamp on it,
Yeah.
is the thing.
Because I know
That's the
architects, they're
government.
not engineers, but they design a lot of houses
they
for
carry
me.
liability insurance,
Yes.
to put too fine a point on it.
I'd be surprised if someone who's an architect would do it for this type of design.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, but in whatever case, they need to meet the condition.
Yeah.
However they get there.
Okay,
Well, I can have them take my hen scratching, as you see, I'm just a builder, but
Again,
have him
it's-
do another set of plans and with
Again-
that design, I'm sure he'd stamp his own plan, so
Yeah.
that's good information to know. Are we good on the topography? Is
Yeah,
what-
Yes.
the photo submitted has contours, so that's
Okay.
what we're looking for.
And the parking, we're good, and the stormwater?
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah.
So we're just down
yeah,
to,
the parking, the only question I had was, what is the access to this? How are you getting at it? Is
the
it-
existing driveway, so,
And you don't need any more than that? Nope. All the work is from the shore?
yes,
This is a pickup truck, basically.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stick-built?
and a Moffett, the delivery truck can't get down, it's kind of tight the driveway, so they bring a Moffett for the lumber, but that's about it.
Okay.
All right, the other one where the waiver is on this one, and the ones I had were the roads, curbs, landscaping. I'm gonna assume lighting, signs, floor area. Were there any other ones that we had that I missed?
I think that's all that I see on the last one here.
And I'm taking those off of the memo from Nadia.
Again, the last memo I have from the code enforcement office is from the 22nd of July. Is there an update to that? Or is that good?
That's the one I'm working from, so.
I believe that that's our most recent update, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So do we agree with those waivers and approve?
Yes.
I think we already did. I think we did at the last meeting.
Last one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else on this one then?
So I would move that this is a complete application and that we schedule a public hearing.
I second that.
All those in favor?
I,
3-0.
All right, so that public hearing will also be August 20, barring a lack of quorum.
I know just anecdotally, the last time, Galen, I don't know that you were here, but we had a discussion about a concern with the amount of time that it expired. And there was some discussion that I know I was a part of that said, this isn't a non-conforming use, this is a non-conforming structure, and as such, the time was different. This is another item that you were gonna take to the attorney and set up a consult.
I believe I mentioned this previously, but our attorney agreed with us that it's a non-conforming use.
I understand, but I don't agree, and I'd like to speak with the attorney on this. It's very clear that in the definitions that the use, the purpose is not a pier. The use is the purpose in the definition sections. The structure is what's non-conforming. If you go look at the uses that are allowed, that are permitted and conditional in all of the zones, pier isn't one of them. In fact, there's a statement that says if it's not listed here, it's not a use. There's
I thought we
something
went-
fundamentally wrong here with this interpretation, and I gotta believe that the attorney, there's nothing in writing here, that the attorney is confused by the conversation. I'd like to correct it.
Okay,
So I think we can have a conversation with the town manager, you and I, to go over this.
The town manager,
Yes.
okay?
and for this specific application at least, I think,
Yeah,
it
we
behooves
got by it.
behooves the applicant to not have it be a structure because we have passed that 18-month mark and there's no extension option. So, here, certainly we're happy with the use here, but I think that Galen's suggestion is a good one.
Thank you.
Bridget, I see your hand is raised. I have not muted your mic. You can speak.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I just heard Nadia say the public hearing is 2 weeks from today?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then could you tell me, just because I'm not familiar, after that, what happens
Yep, so
in terms of the process?
So if the findings of fact are ready by that meeting, the board will sign them, and then you can pick up the findings usually on the day after the meeting and record them at the registry, and as soon as the findings are recorded, you're ready to submit a building permit and have that permit approved. If the findings of fact are not ready at the public hearing, at the following meeting, they'll be signed and you can pick them up the day after, and same process.
Okay, and then as far as the PE stamp, it would be at that time that we would submit it after the public hearing and when it gets recorded?
Yeah, so
To
if
get
it's,
the
if it's
building
added as a condition of approval of a building permit, you wouldn't need to get that PE stamp before the public hearing, but you would need to get it before approval of a building permit.
Of the building
And
permit,
that-
okay.
That would be issued by the code office.
Yes, and that's handled
outs-
administratively.
Yeah, and that's outside of this timeline.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes. And yes, and one of our audience members is helpfully pointing out there's also a flood hazard development permit that's required when doing construction in the flood hazard zone. I believe I'm not sure if I mentioned that in my memo or not, but that will
I
also
didn't
be
see it in there. no.
required.
What is it called?
Yeah, I don't
Flood
think
The
that
hazard?
flood hazard development permit. And that's also handled administratively. It's not a requirement of the planning board application.
So I can go to the code or office and get that
Yes,
information.
I believe it's on it's on our website as well, so you don't even need to.
So for the public hearing, do I need to be here?
It's recommended, just in case
I mean,
public.
to present anything, or am I presented everything?
Usually the applicant does a very brief recap of the project, and then, basically you're just here in case the public has questions, or if the board, they're, in their dreams, they have a lingering question that they come up with over the next 2 weeks.
Please don't.
The major concern is if there's someone from the public who wants to
Okay.
have a face-to-face.
And if that all goes smooth, is voted on, passed out, and the next day?
That's correct.
It can be picked up.
Yes.
I'm the case manager, and I'll have the findings of fact for that reading 2 weeks
Okay.
from today.
Okay,
Excellent.
great. All set? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Last but not least. First but last, or something like that.
This is item 250602, 58 Langsford Road.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Forrester with Flycatcher here on behalf of the applicant. I believe we're at the public hearing stage. Is that correct? Is there anyone online?
Oh, we haven't opened the public hearing yet. Do we have any questions first, I guess?
You just want to give us a quick overview of the
Sure.
project?
Yep. So
Remind us.
this is a replacement of a dock. The, very similar to the last project, the dock was destroyed in the prior storm. It was a little bit older, deteriorated, so probably not up on the maintenance of it. And the components eventually failed during the storm and washed out. So we obtained a permit by rule from DEP, a PCN, a replacement structure from the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a 48-foot-long pier. It's built on 2 cribs that attaches to an existing stone wall on the upland side. So we, again, are replacing in kind. We are going to elevate it a couple of feet just to try to reduce the storm surge that strikes the dock. But the ramp and float will be the same size. It'll all land in the same spot. Access will be, they'll come in from with the truck into the driveway, and then material will be hand carried around and assembled. The ramps and floats can be floated in once the pier is constructed. There is existing ballast stone from the stone cribs on site, so that same stone will just go right back inside the 2 timber cribs as it's constructed.
Any questions, gentlemen?
No questions?
I think, I had a note about an engineer's stamp on this one, too.
Yep.
We recommended it as a condition
Yeah,
last
it's a
time.
condition.
It's condition, okay.
And I apologize, we've had a very busy week. There is one comment that should be updated in the memo. The applicant has submitted plans with contours,
Okay.
so that comment is no longer outstanding.
That's done.
And the water and sewer lines are on there as well.
Yep.
So
So,
thank you for adding that.
So the other thing we'd like to ask is, as this moves forward, if it's found complete, if it's approved, are you able to put a signature block on one of these to be recorded with the registry?
You want the actual plans recorded at the registry now?
Yep.
Okay, 'cause it used to just be the minutes were recorded, I thought.
Yeah, the findings of facts are recorded, but also the plan sets. We've
Okay.
had some applicants that have, in the past, recorded things that were not signed by the planning board, so
Oh, interesting,
making sure.
yeah.
and we did have a few years where we didn't have people record the plans, but we actually did used to, before that,
Yeah.
people recorded the final plans at the registry. So we're going back to our roots a little bit.
Sure.
And
So a
did-
signature block on the plan, and that's enough to accommodate the signatures of the planning board? Is that correct?
Yes, you need
Yep, so
that block for them just to.
3 or
sign.
4 blocks, yep.
Wish it was more.
Yeah, 4 or 5, just in
Yeah.
case, in case our recruiting efforts
Sounds good.
pick up.
And we've approved the waivers on this one at the last meeting?
We did.
We did, so we're good there.
Is this also yours, Peter?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
I got the dock work.
thank you.
You got the docket?
So with that, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience, in the Zoom audience, that's got a raised hand?
No hands raised.
Then we'll close the public hearing with no public comment. And is there a motion that we should approve this?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
In favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and good luck.
So just to clarify, Galen, we'll print a new set of plans, they'll have the signature block, and then,
The engineer stamp.
not on the plans themselves. The engineer requirement is for the floodplain permit,
Sorry, yeah.
which we have contracted with an engineer to review these. And we will provide that letter to the town of their review. But once we produce those plans, then they would be signed at the next meeting. Is that?
Yeah, or
is that
we
correct?
bring them, they'd come into the office just to sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
We
So I
would
can
just
just,
already
Yep,
did the
so you can
hearing,
just
so-
drop them off
There won't
at
be
the.
another
Just
meeting.
drop them off, and then when they sign them, we'll have the findings of fact and a copy of the plan sets to be recorded.
Yep.
Take them to the registry.
and do you want those as 11 by 17? Is that adequate, or do you need full-size
Full
plans?
set.
Full size?
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have other business is the last item on here, reading of finding of facts from previously approved applications.
Yes, so I have 6 copies of findings of fact. I have 58 Langsford Road, 115, I have 4 dredging applications, and 370 Mills Road. I believe that
Yep.
George was 370 Mills Road, so if someone would like to volunteer to take his findings of fact.
I told George I'd read it.
Oh,
All right.
Thank you, because I have 4 I have to read. And you're going to do 58 Langsford, or are you going to wait?
Let's do it now.
Yeah,
Get her done.
thank you, sir.
Cross it off.
Ma'am?
Mills Road, and you have your copies.
Yeah, you need them?
No, I printed you out copies as well.
Oh, okay.
Do you have, on your copies, just want to make sure, do you have the signatures all on one page?
No, I think it actually carries over, at least for the notary.
Okay, so if we could use this one, that would be great.
Fine,
And
yeah.
we just like to keep them all on one page.
Got it.
Here you go.
Okay. Did you edit the one condition I put in that, on the topography maps? Because it sounds like that was,
I have
Matt.
not edited,
Okay.
anything. So you can, if there's anything, you can just cross it and everyone will.
but are you confirming we have received that now?
Yes. we have.
Okay,
Yep,
all right, so I'll cross it out.
perfect.
You want me to read the dredging ones first?
I'm on,
One time or 4 times?
There are 4 different ones, is the way it ended up. So,
Okay.
I'll wait on.
I'm happy to wait and go at the
No.
end if you want to go first. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
All right. I'll put my best reading voice forward here. This is the Kennebunkport Planning Board. Findings of fact and decision, the application of the Kennebunk River Club at 115 Ocean Ave in Kennebunkport, Maine, for the maintenance dredging of the Kennebunk River. Following site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunk Land Use Ordinance held on the 4th of June, 2025, and a public hearing on the 18th of June, 2025, the Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision, subject to the conditions enumerated below. Findings of fact are as follows. The applicant is the Kennebunk River Club with a mailing address of P.O. Box 994, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, in care of Brian Lincoln. The property is identified as Map 8, Block 1, Lot 11 on the Town Assessor's maps. The property is in the riverfront zone. It's 0.8 acres in size with about 140 foot of river frontage. The application included a letter dated 10/25/2024 authorizing Walsh Engineering Associates to represent them at the planning board meetings. Ms. Lena Toby, P.E. of Walsh Engineering, represented the applicants at the meetings. Walsh has a mailing address of 1 Karen Drive, Suite 2A, Westbrook, Maine, 04092. 5, the applicant demonstrated their legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the relevant ownership records as recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, Book 2506, pages 214 to 216, in the body of the application. 6, the applicant proposes to participate in a coordinated maintenance dredging of 4 properties along the Kennebunk River. Application for these properties were reviewed concurrently by the planning board. All 4 properties are represented by Walsh Engineering and will use the same contractor. Details of the properties, their owners and applicants, are as follows, as provided in a table. It shows the applicant, the mailing address, the property address, the assessor's map and block, the zone, the frontage, and the size of all 4 properties. Item 8, the applicant proposes to mechanically dredge about 8935 cubic yards of accumulated sediment from the area in front of the Kennebunk River Club. Silt, sand, and other natural deposits have impacted the marinas and are limiting boat navigation and berthing depths, especially during periods of low tide. The Kennebunk River Club's dredging activities date back to the 1970s and most recently in 2008. 9, an area of approximately 52,300 square feet will be dredged over an elevation of 6-foot mean low water, minus 6-foot mean low water, with about 1 foot of overdig. The material removed will be transported by barge to the Isle of Shoals North Disposal Site, approximately 15 nautical miles east of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the Gulf of Maine. Item 10, existing docks, boat slips will be removed and stored on land prior to dredging, then reinstalled upon completion. 11, authorization required for each of the 4 properties are identical, and a list was provided with each application as shown in a table that I won't read to you here. Well, I will tell you what the authorizations are. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 2 different permits, Maine DEP, the town of Kennebunkport, including the planning board. 12, to allow for uncertainty at the time required to secure all required permits, the board granted the applicant a 180-day extension for the project start date. 13, the board determined that the application met all pertinent submission requirements of Land Use Ordinance Section 10.6. Items deemed not pertinent were waived by the board. Item 14, pursuant to the requirements of Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance, Guidelines for Decisions, the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings, which would otherwise compel denial. And in every case, all of the findings were yes or not applicable. Any negative finding by the board means the application has been denied. The application is otherwise complete. Articles 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that if the planning board shall approve a site plan, mandates that the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings that would otherwise compel denial, and as noted above, the board makes no such findings. The site plan application identified above is hereby approved. Conditions of approval. The applicant, pursuant to 1012E, shall notify the planning board prior to the transfer of rights to construct an approved project. 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation in the York County Registry of Deeds before any permits may issue or before any construction activity may commence. 3, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinances. Dated 2 July 2025. And by the way, this still has April as the notary on it. Is she still doing that for you?
I caught it on all the other ones, but
So
our
you have-
our notary will just cross it out and
Okay,
it'll be
good.
fine.
Now, these are very similar, but they differ, of course, in details, as would be appropriate. This is the application of the Arundel Yacht Club at 51 Ocean Ave, one of the 4 that are coordinating on this project for maintenance dredging of the Kennebunk River. Following the same site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance held on 4 June 2025, and a public hearing on 18 June 2025. The Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision, subject to the conditions enumerated below. Findings of fact are as follows. The applicant is the Arundel Yacht Club with a mailing address of P.O. Box 328, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, in care of Costas Balomenos. 2, the property is identified as map 10, block 5, lot 1 on the town assessor's maps. 3, the property is in the riverfront zone. It is 0.42 acres in size with about 161 foot of river frontage. The application included a letter dated 1/27/2022 authorizing Walsh Engineering Associates to represent them at the planning board meetings. Ms. Lena Toby, P.E. of WEA, represented the applicants at the meetings. WEA has a mailing address of 1 Karen Drive, Suite 2A, Westbrook, Maine, 04092. 5, the applicant demonstrated their legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the relevant ownership records as recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, Book 2324, pages 326 to 328 in the body of the application. 6, the applicant proposes to participate in a coordinated maintenance dredging of 4 properties along the Kennebunk River. Applications for these properties were reviewed concurrently by the planning board, and all 4 properties are represented by WA and will use the same contractor. Details of the properties, their owner and applicants are as follows. Same table is inserted here as on the previous, as on all 4 of these applications. The applicant proposes to mechanically dredge approximately 8,041 cubic yards of accumulated sediment from the area in front of the Arundel Yacht Club. Silt, sand, and other natural deposits have impacted the marinas and are limiting boat navigation and berthing depths, especially during periods of low tide. The Arundel Yacht Club's dredging activities date back to the 1970s, most recently in 2017. 9, an area of approximately 180 foot by 250 foot will be dredged to an elevation of -6 feet mean low water with about 1 foot of overdig. The material removed will be transported by barge to the Isle of Shoals North Disposal Site, approximately 15 nautical miles east of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the Gulf of Maine. 10, existing docks and boat slips will be removed and stored on land prior to dredging, then reinstalled upon completion. The applicant advised the board that they plan to submit a separate application to update the materials that comprise the docks and boat slips during the reinstallation. 11, the authorizations required for each of the 4 properties are identical. A list was provided with each application as shown in a following table. 12, to allow for the uncertainty and the time required to secure all required permits, the board granted the applicant a 180-day extension for the project's start date. 13, the board determined that the applicant met all pertinent submission requirements of Land Use Ordinance 10.6. Items deemed not pertinent were waived by the board. In item 14, pursuant to the requirements of Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance, Guidelines for Decisions, the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings which would otherwise compel denial. And like the previous one, all of the answers are yes, the requirement was met, or not applicable. Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings that would otherwise compel denial, and as noted above, the board makes no such finding. The site plan application identified above is hereby approved. Conditions of approval: the applicant pursuant to 10.12.e shall notify the planning board prior to the transfer of rights to construct an approved project. 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation in the York County Registry of Deeds before any permit may issue or before any construction activity may commence. 3, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinances. third of the four.
You want a break?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I'll give one, you can have it too. You want to go, Peter?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
This is the Kennebunkport Planning Board's finding of fact and decision. The application of Beth A. DiNardo, reconstruction of a recreational dock at 58 Langsford Road. Following a site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunk Land Use Ordinance held on 2 July 2025 and a public hearing held on 6 August 2025, Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision subject to the conditions enumerated below. Findings of fact are as follows. Number one, the applicant is Beth A. DiNardo, the owner of record of 58 Langsford Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046. In a letter dated 26 February 2025, the applicant authorized Flycatcher LLC to act as their agent in this matter. Tim Forrester, Director, Coastal Resources at Flycatcher, represented the applicant in all discussions before the planning board. 2, the property is located on 58 Langsford Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046.
115.
3, the property is identified as map 29, lot 1-22 on the municipal tax assessor's maps. Number 4, property is located in the Cape Porpoise West zone. The shoreland and resource protection zones overlay the property. 5, the site is approximately 0.18 acres in total size and includes approximately 80 feet of shoreline adjacent to Cape Porpoise Harbor. Number 6, the applicant demonstrated a legal interest in the property by giving a warranty deed for the property conveyed to Beth A. DiNardo on 29 December 2022, which was recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, book 19178, page 631, on 30 December 2022. There are no easement or restrictions on the property. Number 7, property is a residential property with an existing residential structure, an established seawall, and a recreational dock, which was formerly extended from the seawall to the southeast. The pier was destroyed in the storms of January 2024. 8, in an application dated 10 June 2025, the applicant is proposing to reconstruct the dock in kind with the exception of raising it 2 feet in height. The former and proposed dimensions of the pier are 4 foot wide and 46 feet long, supported by stone seawall and 2 timber stone cribs. All pilings will be pinned to the ledge. In addition, there are 2 seasonal additions to the dock structure, a 2 foot wide by 24 foot long ramp and an 8 foot wide by 16 foot long float, which will continue to be used seasonally. On the landward side, the new pier will have a 4 foot in width by 4 foot in length set of stairs descending from the pier to the land. Because the new pier is proposed to be constructed 2 feet higher than the destroyed pier, the new set of stairs will project 2 feet deeper into the property than the prior stairs, which were 4 feet in width by 2 feet in length. Number 9, the predecessor pier was a grandfathered structure built into a waterway subsequently deemed a high-velocity zone, which structures are non-conforming. Per section 240-88B, if such non-conforming structure is discontinued for a period exceeding a year, and in this case it's been approximately 18 months, it may not be rebuilt, except that the planning board may, for good cause shown by the applicant, grant up to a 1-year extension of that time period. The applicant's agent explained that the property owner is a California resident who bought the house in late 2022 for seasonal use has been engaged in residential renovations and was unaware of the structure's zoning and one-year window for reconstruction. Furthermore, the scale of the property damage caused by the January 2024 storms has stressed contractor availability and the required permitting by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Approvals have been received. They have contributed to these delays, however. In response, the Planning Board voted unanimously to grant the requested one-year extension. Number 10, applicant requested a waiver from submitting site plan reviews for roads, curbs, bumpers, and sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, signs, and proposed floor area. Ordinances 240-10.6 C10, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and the Planning Board approved those requests. Number 11, pursuant to the requirements of Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance, the Planning Board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings, which would otherwise compel denial. And with that, there are, I believe, 16 findings, all of which were yes or non-applicable. Number 12, when a proposed development is located within the shoreland or resource protection zones, in addition to the requirements of the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance outlined in number 11 above, approval of the development also requires that the board make positive findings based on the information presented that the proposed use, and there are some 8 items, all of which were a yes or a non-applicable. And any findings by the board any negative findings by the board means that the application has been denied. The application is otherwise complete. Conclusions. Articles 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the Planning Board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings that would otherwise compel denial. As noted above, the board makes no such findings. Decision, site plan application identified here is hereby approved. Conditions of approval, if any, pursuant to the Article 10.11 and 10.12E. Number 1, the applicant pursuant to 10.12E shall notify the Planning Board prior to the transfer of rights to construct an approved project. Number 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation with the York County Registry of Deeds before any permits may be issued or before any construction activity may commence. Number 3, construction plans shall include a professional engineer's stamp. Number 4, any areas of soil disturbance at completion of construction shall be stabilized with vegetation and mulch in accordance with the Maine Erosion and Sediment Control Best Management Practices Manual. And number 5, the applicant shall comply with all the terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinances, including Section 219 floodplain management, as well as the Maine DEP approvals prior to issuance of a building permit.
I do one more
And then I'll do one, and then we'll tag team
keep each
them.
other awake. Yeah, this is good. All right, this is the application for the Yachtsman Marina, KPT Marine LLC Yachtsman Marina at 57 Ocean Ave, Kennebunkport, Maine, participating as one of the 4 associations working together for maintenance dredging of the Kennebunk River. Following site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance held on 4 June 2025 and a public hearing held on 18 June 2025, the Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision, subject to the conditions enumerated below. Findings of fact are as follows. The applicant is KPT Marine LLC Yachtsman Marina with a mailing address of P.O. Box 2734, Kennebunkport, Maine 04046, in care of Sean Dumas. The property is identified as map 10, block 1, lot 3 on the town assessor's maps. 3, the property is in the riverfront zone. It's 1.7 acres in size with about 600 feet of river frontage. 4, the application included a letter dated 10/31/2024 authorizing Walsh Engineering Associates, WEA, to represent them at the planning board meetings. Ms. Lenia Toby, PE of WEA, represented the applicants at the meetings. WEA has a mailing address of 1 Karen Drive, Suite 2A, Westbrook, Maine 04092. 5, the applicant demonstrated their legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the relevant ownership records as recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, book 17585, pages 540 through 542 in the body of the application. 6, the applicant proposes to participate in a coordinated maintenance dredging of 4 properties along the Kennebunk River. Application for these properties were reviewed concurrently by the planning board. All 4 properties are represented by WEA and will use the same contractor. Details of the properties are provided in a table. The same table is included in all 4 applications. 8, the applicant proposes to mechanically dredge approximately 6,400 cubic yards of accumulated sediment from the area in front of the Yachtsman Marina. Silt, sand, and other natural deposits have impacted the marinas and are limiting boat navigation and berthing depths, especially during periods of low tide. The Yachtsman Marina's dredging activities date back to the 1970s, most recently in 2016. 9, an area of approximately 1.4 acres will be dredged to an elevation of -6 foot mean low water with about 1 foot of overdig. The material removed will be transported by barge to the Isle of Shoals North Disposal Site, approximately 15 nautical miles east of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the Gulf of Maine. Existing docks and boat slips will be removed and stored on land prior to dredging, then reinstalled upon completion. 11, the authorizations required for each of the 4 properties are identical. A list was provided with each application as shown in the following table. Item 12, to allow for uncertainty at the time required to secure all required permits, the board granted the applicant a 180-day extension for the project start date. 13, the board determined that the application met all pertinent submission requirements of Land Use Ordinance Section 10.6. Items deemed not pertinent were waived by the board. 14, pursuant to the requirements of Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance Guidelines for Decisions, the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings, which would otherwise compel denial. And all of the findings are either yes or not applicable. Conclusions. Article 1010A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings that would otherwise compel denial, and as noted above, the board makes no such findings. The site plan application above is hereby approved. Conditions of approval. The applicant pursuant to 1012E shall notify the planning board prior to the transfer of rights to construct any approved project. 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation in the York County Registry of Deeds before any permit may issue or before any construction activity may commence. 3, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinances. That's that one.
Over to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, outstanding. Kennebunk Planning Board site plan application finding of facts for Gabby Jacob, 370 Mills Road, Kennebunkport, Maine. In an application dated 2/3 of 2025 and updated on 6/17/2025. The applicant is proposing to split an existing lot into two separate lots. Following a site plan review pursuant to Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance held on March 19th and June 18th, 2025, and a public hearing held on July 2nd, 2025, the Kennebunk Planning Board makes the following findings and conclusions and renders the following decision. Finding of facts. 1. The owner and applicant of the property is Gabby Jacob of 370 Mills Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046. In a letter dated January 23rd, 2025, the applicant authorized Susie Wolf of 30 Wolf Farm Lane, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046 as authorized agent for this matter. 2. The property has a street address of 370 Mills Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, identified on the assessor's tax map 38, Block 1, Lot 19, on the municipal tax assessor's map. The owner, Gabby Jacobs, has demonstrated a legal interest in the property by providing a copy of a quitclaim deed recorded in book page 8216, or book, page 0254 of the York County Registry of Deeds dated April 19th, 1997. An easement is included in the deed for a shared portion of the portion at the end of the driveway and stipulates the owner shall bear the burden of maintenance 50-50. The property is located within the Goose Rock zone and is part of a previously approved subdivision. The applicant is proposing to split the existing lot into two separate lots, and the existing lot is entirely outside of the shoreland and resource protection zone. 5. Lot size is 3.69 acres, and the area to be developed is 2.17 acres. 6. A new septic design from 05/2025 has been submitted with test pit information, and the applicant has included possible well locations. The applicant was requested submission or performance waivers from the requirements of the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance for the following. There'll be no additional signage, no soil erosion survey or stormwater analysis, no high-intensity soil survey, no hydrogeological assessment is required, as the site is entirely outside of the 100-year flood zone. No tree survey, no open space is required, as this is not a full subdivision, no traffic analysis, and no financial capability. The planning board granted the above waivers. Pursuant to the requirements in Article 10.10A of the Land Use Ordinance, the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings, which would otherwise compel denial. All are either findings yes or not applicable. Any negative finding by the board means the application has been denied. The application is otherwise complete. Conclusions. Article 10.10A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings which would otherwise compel denial. As noted above, the board makes no such findings. Decision. The site plan application identified above is hereby approved. Conditions of approval, if any, pursuant to Article 10.111 and 10.12E. The applicant pursuant to 10.12E shall notify the planning board prior to transfer of rights to construction, to construct an approved project. No assignment or transfer of the rights to construction. An approved project is valid without prior review and approval by the planning board. The applicant must record a copy of the decision and provide proof of such recordation in the form of a copy thereof attested by the Register of Deeds before any permits may be issued or before any construction activity may commence. 3, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinance. 4, any dwelling built on the new lot not within 100 feet of a water supply will need to create and maintain a plan for the existing man-made pond on the parcel that will allow it to act as a water supply. Here endeth the reading. Over to you, Ed. Bring us home.
This is the Kennebunkport Planning Board findings of fact and decision for the application of the KPT Marine LLC, Kennebunkport Marina, at 67 Ocean Ave in Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, for the maintenance dredging of the Kennebunk River. Following site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance held on 4 June 2025 and a public hearing held on 18 June 2025, the Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision subject to the conditions enumerated below. The findings are as follows. The applicant is KPT Marine LLC, Kennebunkport Marina, with a mailing address of P.O. Box 2734 in Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, in care of Sean Dumas. 2, the property is identified as Map 10, Block 1, Lot 2 on the Town Assessor's maps. 3, the property is in the riverfront zone and it's 0.44 acres in size with about 187 foot of river frontage. 4, the application included a letter dated 10/31/2024 authorizing Walsh Engineering Associates, WEA, to represent them at the planning board meetings. Ms. Lena Toby, PE of WEA, represented the applicants at the meetings. WEA has a mailing address of 1 Karen Drive, Suite 2A, Westbrook, Maine, 04092. 5, the applicant demonstrated their legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the relevant ownership records as recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, Book 7468, pages 195 to 196 in the body of the application. 6, the applicant proposes to participate in a coordinated maintenance dredging of 4 properties along the Kennebunk River. Application for these properties were reviewed concurrently by the planning board. All 4 properties are represented by WEA and will use the same contractor. The details of the properties and their owners and applicants are provided in a table that was included in each of the 4 applications, each of the 4 findings. 8, the applicant proposes to mechanically dredge about 3675 cubic yards of accumulated sediment from the area in front of the Kennebunkport Marina. Silt, sand, and other natural deposits have impacted the marinas and are limiting boat navigation and berthing depths, especially during periods of low tide. Kennebunkport Marina's dredging activities date back to the 70s, most recently in 2016. 9, an area of approximately 36,925 square feet will be dredged to an elevation of -6 foot mean low water, with about 1 foot of overdig. The material removed will be transported by barge to the Isle of Shoals North Disposal Site, approximately 15 nautical miles east of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the Gulf of Maine. 10, existing docks and boat slips will be removed and stored on land prior to dredging, then reinstalled upon completion. 11, the authorizations required for each of the 4 properties are identical, and a list was provided with each application and included here in the findings. 12, to allow for uncertainty in the time required to secure all the required permits, the board granted the applicant a 180-day extension for the project's start date. 13, the board determined that the application met all pertinent submission requirements of the Land Use Ordinance 10.6. Items deemed not pertinent were waived by the board. 14, pursuant to the requirements of Article 10.10A of the Land Use Ordinance, Guidelines for Decisions, the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings that would otherwise compel denial. And all of the identified findings were either yes or not applicable. Conclusions, Article 10.10A of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the planning board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more identified findings that would otherwise compel denial, and as noted above, the board makes no such findings. This site plan application identified above is hereby approved. Conditions of approval. 1, the applicant pursuant to 10.12E shall notify the planning board prior to the transfer of rights to construct an approved project. 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation in the York County Registry of Deeds before any permit may issue or before any construction activity may commence. 3, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the Town of Kennebunkport ordinances. Dated 2 July 2025. That's it.
Yay.
Those need to be signed. All of those. And this one.
I also have the plans for 370 Mills Road, so as everyone's on their way out, if you could sign these, that would be great.
Is there one that I haven't signed?
Yes, there is. You haven't signed that one.
I have a odd question.
Come to the right place.
Do you need a quorum to read findings of fact?
You need a quorum to sign findings of fact.
To sign it?
We need 3 signatures.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is, if you don't have a quorum, can you still read the signing of facts and then people drop by and sign it?
I don't think you have a legal meeting. Is there a requirement to read findings of fact or just a tradition?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Might
If
look
it's not a
at
legal
manual.
requirement, I would say, why would we still do it?
Yeah.
But even,
All
does
in
it have
favor
to be
of
read
adjusting that.
in
Yes.
a quorum? 'Cause
In a
Read
meeting.
At a public meeting,
Which
but
requires
if you
a
don't,
quorum.
if you don't have a quorum,
right.
yeah, like we had with this past one, instead of delaying somebody a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
could you do it?
If all that was absent was the findings.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to check the manual to see what it says. If it is, then,
it just.
I guess this is a good recruitment tool to get people on the planning board. Make sure that we don't have delays.
Yeah. But it just may, it may get rather
No, that's a good question.
fun here as we wind out the year. And instead of delaying things, if we can work around it. Just 2 sets,
Yes.
anywhere on the block?
I feel like I only signed one of Mike's.
Mike only had one.
They should have had 2.
Have you guys done 2
Are we adjourning?
Oh, 2 copies. I thought,
Still signing.
2 readings. Have we had a motion to adjourn? Would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned at 7:30.